Hey everybody. It hasn't been that long ago since I got a few requests from people to make a tutorial on how to install Windows 7. Well, here you have it. This is a tutorial on how to install Windows 7. And basically it's really close similar to installing Vista. Anyways, this computer is a Dell Inspiron 1525. This is actually one that's in for service. I also have one of these particular machines, and Windows 7 runs great on these. So if you have an Inspiron 1525 that's running Vista, I recommend you upgrade to Windows 7 because it's a much better operating system in my opinion. So anyways, first thing I'm going to do is insert the Windows 7 DVD into your DVD drive, which I've already done. And you also want to go ahead and make sure you've already backed up all your files and settings, because doing a fresh install of Windows will delete everything that's on your hard drive. Pictures, videos, music, documents, files, anything. It's going to be all gone. So you always want to go ahead and make sure that you back up everything that you want. All your settings, bookmarks, that kind of stuff. Make sure it's all backed up onto another machine or to another hard drive or some other storage media. So that way you won't lose any of your stuff. So anyways, now that that's said and done, let's go ahead and get started. And the hard drive that's in this machine actually had Windows 7 on it as it is. I'm trying to press F12 so I can get into the BIOS. To the boot menu. Apparently it's ignoring me. There, finally. So anyways, you get the idea. Basically, now I'm going to explain what I was doing. Many computers nowadays default from the factory with the default BIOS settings will be set to look for an operating system on the hard drive before looking for anything on your CD drive. So it's best to go ahead and hit F12 or whatever key that your motherboard requests for the boot menu, and this will bring you into this boot menu here. So we'll go ahead and select the DVD drive. As you just saw, the computer was looking on the hard drive first for an operating system before looking on the CD drive. So that's why you have to go into your boot menu. Now in some cases, if you've already customized your BIOS settings to where it looks for the CD drive first, you won't have to worry about all that. Anyways, Windows is loading files. It's pretty similar to Vista. And to be honest with you, ever since Windows Vista, Windows has become much easier to install. In the Windows XP days, you had to deal with an old text interface where you couldn't use your mouse or anything. It was a bit unfriendly for the average user, but with newer versions of Windows, such as Windows Vista, Windows 7, and the soon-to-be released Windows 8, you can install Windows pretty easily. You just have to know how to get your drivers and stuff loaded. And of course I have some pretty bad opinions about Windows 8, but I'll cover that in a different video. And of course the amount of time it takes for Windows to load files will vary depending on your DVD drive. If it takes an extremely long time, or if you have lots of errors, you will definitely need to go ahead and run a laser lens cleaner through your CD drive, so your DVD drive, so that way it'll clean the laser lens, so that way you can read your DVD a lot better. And I have a video on my channel of how to do that. Okay, now we're going to see this right here. This is starting Windows. Here's a cool looking graphic. So anyways, go ahead and select your language and everything as default, so we click next. We'll say install now. Now in this case, the disk that I'm using the DVD that I'm using is a multi-installer. It can install every single version of Windows 7 from starter to Ultimate in both 32 and 64-bit. Now some Windows 7 disks can only install certain versions, but this one here, as you can see, it can do every version. Starter, Home Basic, Home Premium, Professional, Ultimate, Enterprise, both 32 and 64-bit. Of course, Windows 7 Starter is only 32-bit, so you don't see that in the 64-bit selection. Anyways, you're going to be installing Windows 7 Home Premium 32-bit on this machine. It has 3 gigs of RAM. Now, if the computer had more than 3 gigs of RAM, let's say if it had 4 gigs or more, then you would need to install 64-bit. Go ahead and accept the license terms. We'll click on Next. I'm going to adjust the screen a little better so you can see everything. Now you have 2 options here. You have Upgrade and Custom. I don't recommend using Upgrade, and in many cases this will be blanked out depending on what kind of setup you have. When you're installing Windows or upgrading Windows, I recommend doing a clean install. It just eliminates the chances of having a lot of errors from an upgrade install. And the user requests to delete everything off this computer, which actually there was a couple pictures I had backed up off this thing for somebody. Anyways, files have already been backed up. Now I can't stress it enough, I'll say it again. If you have not backed up your files, please shut down and restart and go back into Windows and get your files, because once you go through this step, your files are gone. Once you click delete, your files are gone. For example, the System Reserve folder is now, the System Reserve partition is now gone. I'm clicking delete, and once you click OK, it's all gone. I'm going to say new and apply. You can also just say next, but it gives you a little message saying that Windows will create a small little reserve partition of 100 megabytes. This is like a recovery thing too. Go ahead and click next. And the process is pretty automated from here. So basically you can go ahead and go fool around a little bit, do something else, because this is going to take a little while. Okay, now I'm going to give this computer a username and a name. Type the owner's name in here. I'm going to type in the service tag, which is a network name. I'm going to type the product key in later, but you can enter the key in right now or just whenever. I'm going to say ask me later on the update because I'm going to install some packages first. I'm going to select Eastern Time Zone. Make sure the time is correct, which it is not. I'm gonna make sure the date is correct too. I forgot about that. Okay, the date is correct. And it's asking if I go ahead and join a wireless network. I'm going to disconnect over Ethernet LAN. So I'm going to skip this step. and make my LAN connection. Okay. This is what the Windows 7 desktop looks like the first time you see it. The only icon is a recycle bin. And since I went ahead and plugged in my cable, it's asking me what kind of network I'm using. It's a home network. And here's something else I want to go ahead and talk about. The DVD that I used did not contain Service Pack 1. It's just Windows 7 by itself with no service packs. And in this case, I'll have to install Service Pack 1. But first I'm going to install drivers. Make sure all the drivers are up to date. So to access Device Manager, you go into Control Panel. And I always keep it set to small icons, so it shows everything. Go over to Device Manager. And we do have some devices missing their drivers. And another thing we'll go ahead and mention to you about Windows 7 and Vista is they have a generic high-definition audio device driver that installs itself for any HD audio device. Sometimes it works, sometimes it don't. Anytime I recommend upgrading this driver to, let's say, the Realtek high-definition driver, or whichever device you have in your machine. I'm going to go ahead and get the drivers for this computer, which I already have. Since I already have one of these, I had the drivers stored on my main machine. Go ahead and fetch the drivers. I'm going to make some changes here to where the start menu will show a link to network. Okay, I'm going to access my files. Anytime you access a network for the first time, Windows 7 or Vista, it's going to say file sharing is turned off. You want to turn that on. And if it asks you turn on file sharing for all public networks, tell it that it's a private network because it's not a public network. A public network is like, say, somewhere at a airport or a coffee shop or something like that. Private network is at home. Which these are the driver packages from Dell. And another thing, we want to turn off that user account control. That's very annoying. So it's installing the drivers for all the components. Let's see, like right now I'm doing the modem. This is the chipset driver. This is an Intel based system. Let's say no to restart the computer later because we're still installing driver packages. And some people probably say you need to restart it every time you install a driver, but I've always done it this way. I've never had a problem. So we're installing another driver. It's for the card reader. Now, of course, on your computer, these drivers will vary depending on what kind of hardware you have. Like I say, these drivers are in particular for the Inspiron 1525. And we're going to restart the computer. Okay, when this is restarted, let's go ahead and double check our drivers. Go back to Device Manager. It appears we have everything we need. The high definition audio driver is gone, and the Intel high definition audio HDMI driver is installed. That's for the built-in HDMI port. Okay, so drivers are good to go. Now let's get rid of that user account control. Okay, cut it off. Now, since the DVD that I used didn't have Service Pack 1, we need to go ahead and install Service Pack 1. So let me go ahead and navigate to that file. Okay, here is my Service Pack 1 file. Now what you can also do is run through Windows Update and let it do all this on its own, but I had the files already locally, so that way I can just do it this way instead. And there's a couple more modifications I'm going to run through at the end of this video that you might like for Windows 7. One being, I had this registry file here that completely gets Windows Update out of the shutdown button, and I have a video on YouTube about more about this. And I also have, I can also put the Windows Vista Movie Maker in Windows 7, because the Windows Live Movie Maker is just not a good replacement for Windows Vista Movie Maker. Go ahead and run the file. It does things a little differently now that I got user account control turned off. It acts like Windows XP does. Go ahead and select Next on Windows 7 Service Pack 1. Go ahead and let this install. This will take a little while. So like I was saying earlier, when this during this step, it's just like the installation. You can go ahead and just go do whatever you want to, because it'll even restart the computer for you. So click install and go find something else to do for a little bit. Okay, now that Service Pack 1 has been installed, we're going to go ahead and install some other things. Now I'm going to install Internet Explorer 9. Install, and just let it run through the steps, and then it'll ask you to restart the computer. Okay, I just restarted Windows because I had just installed Internet Explorer 9. Now I'll go ahead and install some more things. We'll go ahead and do Windows Live Essentials. Now you can either choose all the Live Essentials programs or just choose the ones you want to install. I personally only like to install the Photo Gallery and Movie Maker. Which, speaking of Movie Maker, I will show you how to get Windows Vista Movie Maker back into Windows 7. Oh, and here's something pretty funny to note. During the process I was installing Windows Live Essentials, Windows Update decided to go ahead and do its own little thing. If you recall, back earlier in the installation, I set it to not install updates automatically. I actually had it turned off. But it just magically turned itself back on. So while I'm on the terms of Windows Update, let's see what it installed. Okay, just installed some random updates, but But yeah, isn't that ridiculous? So go ahead and change settings and say download updates, or actually check for updates, but let me choose whether to download or install them. Windows Live Essentials is now installed. Okay, now I'm going to show you some nice enhancements you can do to Windows 7. I figure I'm going to do this before I install Windows updates and programs, all that mess. First thing I'm going to show you is how to install the Windows Movie Maker 6 into Windows 7. Now, first thing you're going to have is the files for Windows Movie Maker, and you want to actually pull these from a Vista install. And I've actually got these files stored on my system. I got both the 64-bit and the 32-bit files. And like I say, you have to actually have a Vista installation on a computer somewhere to get these. In some cases you can get these off the internet. I know you can get the 32-bit ones off the internet, but I'm not sure about the 64-bit. Let's say if you have a 64-bit machine and you can't find the 64-bit files and you don't have a Vista install disk, you can use the 32-bit files, but I recommend using the 64-bit when possible. So anyways, this is a 32-bit computer, so I'm going to be using these files here. And these are the files that are in the Movie Maker folder that's in the C program files on a Windows Vista install. So to find these, you'll go to C, Program Files, Movie Maker. So we're going to have these files, and another thing we're going to do is we're going to find the Reg SVR32 application that's in the System32 folder. So navigate to Computer, your local disk, mainly C, go down to Windows, go down to System32. And in the System32 folder, we're going to be looking for a file called Reg SVR32, which is located right here. You can also just search it. Let's say, for instance, let's see. Just type it into the search and it finds it for you. And you're going to be using this one. You'll select copy. You'll paste a shortcut. Do not click paste, click paste shortcut. Next thing we're going to do is go into your local disk C again, navigate to Program Files, make a new folder, and we'll call it Movie Maker Vista Edition. You can call it Movie Maker 6, Movie Maker, whatever. But in this case, I'm calling it this because all my shortcuts that I have pre-written for this are for this particular folder name. So we'll go in here and we're going to copy and paste all these files. It's going to copy everything needed. Okay, now you want to select all the DLL files. And by the way, to select different files, you can hold your control key down and click the individual files you want to select. I'm going to well, actually, we're going to say, what we're going to do is not copy, but we're going to drag and drop these onto this shortcut where it says Open with Microsoft Register Server. You're going to get some success messages and you're going to get some error messages. Because some of the entry points aren't found. but most of them will register just fine. Now we're going to go ahead and copy over my shortcuts. Unselect that. We'll copy these. We'll paste them to the desktop. And if you want to add these to your start menu programs, here's what you can do. Go to Computer, go to C, and it's a hidden folder. It's called Program Data. Go to Microsoft, Windows, Start Menu, and Programs. We'll go ahead and paste these right here. Now I also have, if you haven't noticed, I have two shortcuts. That's because I created a little help and support file. That way when I deploy this on my computers, if anybody decides to use the Vista Movie Maker, this is a little bit of information that they can reference to for common troubleshooting problems, that kind of stuff. Because Windows Vista Movie Maker doesn't work 100% perfect in Windows 7. It will, if you use it heavily, over time it will eventually crash. Sometimes it'll freeze up, and it's not perfect, but it does work most of the time. That's I actually use for all my YouTube videos on Cube Computer Channel, I use Vista Movie Maker 6 and Windows 7. Okay, so now this will show you that it works. Go ahead and open it. So now we have Windows Vista Movie Maker 6 and Windows 7. And now I'm going to show you another thing that you definitely want to do on your Windows 7 install. If you use, like, let's say for instance you work with videos a lot, you're going to want to have a codec package installed. This will make the Vista Movie Maker compatible with almost any kind of video file. Normally, let's say for instance my DXG567V camcorder, which I'm shooting video with right now, it outputs its video files into MOV H.264 format, which is normally not compatible with Vista Movie Maker. So you have to install a codec package. And I use K-Lite Codec Pack. Which tells me I need to install a .NET Framework package right quick, so I'll go and do that. Okay, let's say you get that error message like what I got. You'll need to install the Microsoft .NET Framework 4.0 package. So go ahead and do that right quick. Okay, now that that's installed, let's go back to what we was doing. Try this again. If you're running 64-bit, you'll need to also install this plus a 64-bit codec package. Let's click next on advanced mode. Next again. Select lots of stuff. Next. Next. Select, let's say, FFD show DXVA decoder. Next. 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 Install. And click finish. Now if that's installed, I'm going to go ahead and Internet Explorer, of course, being a load of garbage. Let's go ahead and fix that. Let's go ahead and install Google Chrome. which I like. I like both Chrome and Firefox. Just take your pick. So we're installing Chrome. Go ahead and install, let's see, Adobe Flash Player. You notice how the Adobe Flash Player installer likes to delete its host file every time you use it. So let's say you download a copy of Flash Player to install, and you go to install it, it deletes the file in the background. I don't like that because I like to have these files to deploy the software on computers I refurbish and reinstall Windows on. So that's why I have several copies of this installer, so that way when it deletes itself I have a couple more extras to make copies of, and you name it. And let's not forget about our antivirus software. That's definitely a must-have. And I prefer AVG Free. It does a very good job, and of course it's free. And while that's starting, I'm going to show you something else. This little registry entry I have here removes Windows Update from the shutdown button in Windows 7. For instance, let's say if you have updates set to automatically download updates, but let me choose whether to install them, or you have it set to automatic. When you go to click Start, this shutdown button will have a little shield with the exclamation mark next to it. That's the Windows Update. And normally, when you see that, you can mouse over here, like in Vista. It wouldn't actually have that. You'd have the option to shut down or install updates and shut down. But Windows 7, they decided to make it to where if you're logged in, you must install updates when you're shutting down. I have a video on my channel that explains more about this. If I remember, I'll go ahead and post a link as an annotation so you can see it. So more or less, when this happens, you have to log out and then shut down to avoid installing updates while shutting down. Because let's say if you have a bad storm coming, you want to get your computer shut down right away. This way you want to worry about installing updates while there's lightning strikes hitting the ground outside, and you don't want to worry about your computer getting fried because it thought installing updates was more important than shutting down. Anyways, back to what I was saying, let's go ahead and install this little package. It's a little registry entry. So anyways, that's installed. We can go back to our antivirus. Run through the setup on this. Accept the license terms. Choose basic free protection. Click next. And I go with custom install. Don't need AVG Secure Search as default search provider. I don't need the stinking toolbar. Don't need link scanner because I install McAfee Site Advisor. And I'll go ahead and show you how to install McAfee Site Advisor too, because I think it's a good tool to have in your browser. Go ahead and launch this, show what it looks like, and let it install after AVG gets done. And of course, uncheck, yes, I want to install the Yahoo toolbar, because no, I do not want to install the Yahoo toolbar. It seems like nowadays when you install programs, you have to spend a lot of time unchecking all this extra stuff it wants to install. I don't want any extra toolbars. I don't need any. I don't want my home page or search engine changed. I don't need any of that. I just want to install the software. So anyways, we're going to let this finish and then now install the site advisor. Alright, now go ahead and click finish. And I'm going to do a couple more things. When AVG pulls up, you're going to click on Tools. Go to Advanced Settings. First thing, turn off AVG Advisor notifications. It's really just a waste of time thing that says, hey, this program's using a lot of memory. Well, sometimes, let's say if you're using a memory intensive program like Google Chrome or Google Earth, it'll trigger this to say this program is using a lot more memory than normal. But yeah, at the same time, let's say like with Google Earth, it's normal for Google Earth to use a lot of memory. So just turn this off. Don't let it bother you. And then go over to Schedules and click on Schedule Scan. Turn this on. And I think the reason why it's normally turned off because this is a free version of AVG. But you can turn this back on and make it run like it's supposed to. This way it'll run a scheduled virus scan on your computer every week. And of course it's downloading an update and everything, so we'll go ahead and close this out. Now we're going to install the site advisor. Like I say, uncheck this because I'm sure you don't want Yahoo toolbar. Because this already comes with the McAfee Secure Search toolbar, which puts itself in a very small area so it doesn't take up a lot of your browser. And personally, I think toolbars are a thing of the past. And no, we don't want Yahoo to be my browser's default search engine. I prefer Google, thank you. Okay, so we did some nice little enhancements to Windows 7. We put the Vista Moonmaker 6 into Windows 7. We got antivirus installed, put Google Chrome on, installed a Codec package, you name it. So now we're going to go ahead and install Windows updates. Before I install Windows updates, I need to go ahead and activate Windows. And see, back in the XP days, it would give you this little nagging notification saying, "Hey, you need to activate Windows. You have, let's say, you have 30 days left for activation, or 29 days, or 28 days, whatever." But in Vista and 7, they decide to make it where it doesn't notify you that much, and I kind of like it that way because it don't pop up that balloon every time you restart Windows. But at the same time, you can easily forget to activate Windows if you're not careful. So anyways, we're going to the properties. And I haven't entered the product key just yet, so I need to go ahead and click on change product key. Well, it took longer than usual, but the activation was successful over the internet. Now I'll go ahead and install updates. Currently have 80 important updates available, and we have 6 optional. I'm going to go ahead and hide Bing Desktop because that's really, I've heard about Bing Desktop being, well, I know the Bing toolbar is really a load of garbage. And we got, let's see, Silverlight. We don't need Security Essentials because we have AVG Free installed. We have driver updates for the wireless card. driver update for the Ethernet LAN controller. And here's an update for Windows 7. Now before I begin installing updates, we're going to go ahead and actually go in and hide another update. See, there's an update that Microsoft has released. It's called KB971033. And this update reads as follows. This update to Windows activation technologies detect activation exploits and tampering to key Windows system files. These exploits try to bypass regular Windows activation and are sometimes included within counterfeit copies of Windows. Now you're probably thinking, I'm not installing this update because I don't want to detect, let's say, an activation exploit, but no, that's not the case. This update, every 90 days, it likes to phone home to Microsoft and download more detection tools to check to make sure your copy of Windows is still genuine. You can activate it when you first install it and it'll pass as genuine, but this piece of software here decides to download, decides to phone home to Microsoft every 90 days to download new exploit detection software, and it checks your system to see if it's not genuine. And there have been many cases that I've read online about this software getting false positives. Let's say you actually have a genuine copy of Windows 7 and it will flag it as not genuine, and when that happens, it's really just a load of trouble. So let's not even worry about installing this update, because I mean, you don't have to install it. It's not mandatory. It does not come with Service Pack 1. Why waste your time in installing this update when it's going to keep phoning home to Microsoft every 90 days? Some people call this Microsoft spyware. Some people call it Microsoft malware, because I mean, it kind of reminds me of the WGA incident back in the XP days, back in I think 2006, when the Windows Genuine Advantage software was generating a lot of false positives. So even though the computer runs genuine Windows, I don't even want this update on here, so let's go ahead and hide it. And there's another update here that was unchecked. So I just passed it. This is, let's see, KB2505438. This update's fine. We'll check it and let it install. So now we're going to install updates. Next, set the license terms for any updates that need it. Now we'll let these updates install, and anyways, that's pretty much how you install Windows 7. And I included, like I said, I included some bonus content of how to install the Vista Movie Maker 6, how to install a Codec package, install an antivirus software, Google Chrome, that kind of stuff. So anyways, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to ask.